Whoa, thanks, Zoom. We're being recorded.
Yeah.
Still new to me. Still new to me.
Yeah.
All right, Jess and I are back. Jess, queen of Vim. Everybody was they didn't even
Yeah.
care about the stream. They didn't even care about us building this converter, all this other cool stuff. They're like, did you see Jess's Vim setup? It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
like, but
It
what about
has,
Shift?
well, yeah, there's that. It has made me want to like do some sort of streaming
Good.
things with Vim. Yeah.
Yeah. I know Dorinda's
Spread the
doing
good
some
word.
stuff. Yeah, you could maybe
Yeah.
join up with him and you guys could have like a chat. That'd be good. That'd be good. Hey, look, like compare your setups or something.
Yeah, true.
That could be a cool,
Cool.
quick video for peeps.
We are in like a Vim chat room where we kind of all share our
Of
setups and
course you
stuff.
are. Of course you are. Do you have to do like the Vim commands to operate the chat?
It's Discord, so no.
Damn, that would be kind of cool.
It would.
So anyway, we will see some more of Jess's abilities here, mastery of Vim in just a bit. But yeah, we were just kind of recapping before we hit the record button and feel like we're making some pretty good progress. So today, just to kind of pop up this reminders thing, I threw this up last night after the streams yesterday. There were a couple of areas I found again in reviewing some of that fast and loose stuff. There are some additional annotations for teardown methods. And I realized in the test methods, we're probably going to want to start doing some setup work to prepare for extracting the data providers. So that's where I think we'll get started. I'll clean up that test method for kind of what I was thinking would be helpful to migrate the data providers. And
Yep.
then I'll ping it to you and you can Pong out the data provider implementation, hopefully. And that'll
Sounds
be our
good.
goal for this stream. Because really, if we get the data providers done, it's just helpers at that point, which are move any custom methods.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's good to go. I think it'll be MVP. So I'm really hoping Friday in tomorrow's stream, I'll be able to maybe run this on some of our code bases with test suites and see what it looks like, see how it does.
That's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, so let's jump in here. Well, let's bring up PHP Storm and wait a second. So, okay, so for the test methods, what I was thinking is we could easily track which data providers are in use based on the annotation that's for
Yep.
that test method. And instead of just like searching all files and then trying to like infer if this is a data provider, we would actually have kind of our own little built-in registry of what data providers and which files had them.
Yeah.
So that's the little piece I want to build here. We're just going to update the test to basically have that all going.
Nice.
So in test methods, once everything's indexed here, there we go. All right, we find all the pest files and we remove their doc blocks, but down here, we remove their test annotation. So I kind of want to do something right in here like track at data provider, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of what I want to do and kind of start to build up this registry of which data providers are available.
Yeah. At the same time, do we want to also track the test with like the inline data providers as well, or save that for later?
I would probably say let's save it.
Okay. I don't
So
know how many
yeah,
people will be using that yet either, because like I only discovered that it even existed
yeah. So
3 days
last
ago.
night, yeah. So to Jess's point, last night when I was also going through those annotations, I came across this test with, and I didn't even realize this was an available annotation, but it is. So like for really simple data sets of just kind of, you can write them in line, of course, with an annotation, and it works the same way as one of the larger, I guess, proper or explicit data provider works. It just
Yeah.
inputs that and loops over them. So this will definitely have an equivalent inside of Pest to be just these straight bits, but
Yeah.
we'll probably worry about that maybe off stream. I don't think I'll track that at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I don't think so. The data provider is easier because we can just pull it out. Like it's just like a straight method. It's not, you know, it's just data provider. Here's the method name. It's
Yeah.
already kind of a registry. So like tracking that's super simple. Whereas tracking test with is like, now I got to go parse that into something.
Yeah. The
So
challenge will
we'll,
be trying to work out where to actually put the data provider, because that's like an opinion that we'll have to
yeah,
have on, do we put
yeah,
them all in one file per test, one file per data provider? But
yeah. That's where it definitely gets hairy. So let's see here. Share, I think is what we call it. Yeah. So we
the
would
share is
just call
basically
this
like a
like,
little like in-memory key value store,
yeah,
right?
it's pretty rare that we use it, but like sometimes I need a previous task. Like it's helpful to have some information from a previous task instead of like making one massive task to like convert all pest, right? Like it's been nice to break these up as we've seen.
Yeah.
But in rare cases, you need one task to kind of talk to the next task. And this is the way it
Yeah.
does it. It just think of it just like a little cache. It's just a way to kind of, set a little data that something else may or may not use down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of properly drive that out though. Test methods. So, or whoops, test methods. Test is what we need. There we go. All right, so when it gets done with all of this, there would probably be an expectation. We probably would want to see that it got called with some data. The annoying thing though is like this is potentially a little bit cumulative. So like let's just look at one of these files so it's easier to see what I'm talking about. So we have, not after, let's look at before. Oops. Test methods before is mixed. I think it's like mixed case or format mixed. There we go. Yeah, I leveraged one of these. Yeah, see, this has a data provider. So what
Yeah.
I would like to see is like share gets called with data provider, and then on the value side, like the key would be data provider, and then the value side would be existing annotations or something like,
Mm-hmm.
and then what else? Probably the file name would be
We'll need to
helpful.
know the file where it's stored.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for that reason, we probably won't be able to put them all in one big file at the end of the day, because the same name might have been used multiple times for data
Yeah.
providers.
Yeah. 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 When we start outputting those, let's think of that. Let's track a registry though, because this is going to make it super easy to just
Yeah.
chuck these out, go pluck them out. Okay. So what we're going to need to do, I'm just trying to think of how to write the test for this, because otherwise I'm going to potentially be calling like shift expects share like 50 times. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. I mean,
we
it depends
could,
on like in your implementation, if you just, add them all into like a temporary variable inside here.
yeah,
Although,
it's kind of gross, but we could.
yeah,
What do you got? Otherwise, I'm just gonna
no, I'd
quit
probably
messing
go with
around and
that.
keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Do that.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do then. This is pretty gross, but I'm just gonna have private data providers equals empty array. And we're just gonna start building this up. And that way we can call it once. So now that we know we're just gonna call it once, the simple way we'll say shift expects at the very end pretty much a share, and this should receive with data providers. And this is going to be the big clunkiness. So this is going to force us to look at the fixtures real quick. So we should have data provider, nice and effing generic. Well, so this be a
Provider
good
called
test
data
though. Like,
provider.
do we keep it? Do we mess it up a lot? And then this would be the file that it was found in. So in the purposes of our test, this would be
Can
called.
I
Go ahead.
suggest that we put the top level key as the file? Because if the same data provider is used, if that same name is used in multiple files, then
It would
that
have to be.
array
It
will
would
get
have to be a.
overwritten.
it would have to be a composite key then, because it would have to be, there could be multiple data providers in a file. So
Yeah,
you're
but I
going
guess
to do
like
the array, you're going to invert it basically.
I'm thinking
So you're
like,
going to do
yeah, like
this.
wait, yeah, do that and then list all of the data providers in that file.
Okay.
Because that way, if data provider exists with that name in another file, we can still
Yeah.
store it.
Nope. Good call. Good call. I like it. I like it. The only reason I was thinking of share the name though, real quick, is because that would allow us to know like uniqueness and an easier way to compare. You know, so like if we had one and it was in multiple files, we could go look at those and say like, hey, are these two data providers somehow the same? But that's
Yeah.
that's way ahead. Let's see, that's one of those scenarios I got ahead of myself and look what happened. All right, what's
Yeah, I
the
know what you mean
next
though.
one? Complex class, I think was the next one. No,
You like
complex
just
test, sorry.
search for the data provider annotation in that directory.
Well, we're not using all of the fixtures in that one class, so.
True. Okay.
Here we are, sorry. Complex test methods. I named them with some kind of, you know, idea in mind here. Here's data provider. Of course, hey, look, it's called data
The
provider.
data provider.
Oh, yeah, that's actually good for our tests. So to your
This
point,
is
we would
true.
have found out pretty quick that we wouldn't have been able to do things that way. So let's go back to our test. I'm going to declare bankruptcy here on these tabs. This is like, where the hell is everything? So many files open, too early for me. All right, and so now we're saying complex test methods has a data provider as well.
Cool.
So when
And
we're
then we
all
want to
done,
store the test names that they're attached to.
actually, no. I think it's going to be a lot easier to go ahead and inline that right now.
Okay.
So like I'm going to write the failing, I'm going to update the fixtures to be failing in this case, but I think we're just going to push on to data providers because that's going to be easy for me to patch later. So just to keep this stream focused on data providers, I'm going to make these tests fail, but I will make them pass after the stream.
Okay.
So if we go back to this basic test method pest, what I would like to see here for this example is that all of that is gone and it now has like with data provider.
Yep. Okay.
Like I would go ahead and tack that on if we found that. I would know to append it to our new wrapped method. And then same in complex pest. Afterward, we would drop that and do the same thing. And this is actually going to, whoops, wrong way. And this is actually going to trigger me to do the same thing with group because that's kind of how group works. So that would also be like, ultimately this would look like group network. So the point here is that there's some more stuff we need to do with the annotations right now that we, can clean up, that I'll want to clean up. So because of this, I'm gonna punt that for later, but this should end up failing. So when you run the test here in a minute, you're going to see those failures as well.
Cool.
Okay. So I feel pretty good about that. Let's actually make this part happen. And again, since the test will fail, I'm just going to kind of blindly add this because you'll be able to see on your side if you have it or not.
Okay.
So let's go to test methods. And basically, whoa, that's not right. Test methods, Pest Converter. So basically at the very end here, we would do shift share. The key is data providers. And then we would share this providers. And we would need to track these in some regard. So when we find data provider, well, you know what? We are going to have all this mocked out. So we don't have to do that right now. Track and wrap data provider. So that's the piece I will do later. So we've got the failing test for it. We know kind of how we're tracking it in one big clump and what it looks like based on the test that we wrote here. So let's
So
move.
the test is not going to get to that part though, because it's going to
Yeah, but
fail
since,
earlier.
yeah, yeah. I'm not going to worry about trying to make this pass because I feel like it would take probably the rest of the stream. I'd like to kind of push on to the data providers so you get a
Okay.
chance to do some implementation.
Okay, cool.
So I think what I'm going to do is just copy this test and we'll call this data providers. And I'm going to write the test for you. And since we're able to stub out what's in shift share data, it's like it worked anyway.
Yeah, sweet.
So let's change all this to data providers. And let's just kind of review this because I don't think there's going to need to be that many changes. Of course, the file itself doesn't exist, so I'll just generate that for you real quick. And did it put that in the right spot? No, it did not. Shifts. Oh, goofy PHP Storm. What'd you do that for? You should be up here. Go, go, go. All right. I think that should be right. Shifts, tasks, PHP. Shift tasks, PHP Pest Converter. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't like that. I think it'll figure it out.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's going to figure it out once I like flush auto load or something. All right, so back to the test. Data providers, shift task, PHP, data providers. Did I not call it data providers? I did. Whatever. Extends task, add the method stubs. Good to go. What is wrong with this? This is
It
annoying
doesn't
me.
like that namespace there. What is it?
Yeah.
Angry about
Shift
that.
tasks.
Oh, shift,
Yeah.
not shifts.
Oh, there we go. There's the answer. Pest converter. All right, cool. There we go. Nice. Good catch. Okay, so what we're really going to say here is it specs shared data with data providers, and it would return an empty array. And in this case, it's going to do nothing. So if it found no data providers in your project, no data was shared, it's an empty array, nothing happened.
Yep.
So now we can say it migrates data providers. And this will actually end up looking pretty darn close. So now we can actually just invert this test, and that's why I copied it, to be this. And now it's going to give us what we want to extract those. So we're not going to get any no file whatever. Instead, we will get this basic data providers. We could actually continue to use the same test. So let's actually change that back to basic test methods. All right. So we're going to get the file basic test methods. It can pull out we might need like a, I don't think format mixed actually had the data provider in it. Yeah, see, this is just kind of a generic test. So let's do pest data provider, I guess. Yeah. All right, and then it should put the contents of that as data provider after .php. And then it shouldn't append. It should make a new data provider. So put file contents under test, and then how did Pest do that? So let's talk about this for a second.
Datasets.
Let's talk about this for a second. So I think what we're going to do, we were talking a little bit before the stream, and I know that some people in earlier streams suggested Hey, it'd be cool if it did, if it made these shared data providers, or sorry, shared data sets in test lingo. So what we thought we would do is basically make a datasets folder, which I was asking Nuno, I believe these are just auto-loaded, so you don't have to worry about any of these things, but this would just be like the test name. So you would have like dataset, home or something here.
Yeah.
And that would potentially be all the data sets that came from that file.
Yeah.
And then if you had another test, another test, another test, another test, there might be naming overlap if we make all these top level. So I don't
Oh,
really know.
true. Yeah.
See,
Like
in
if you've
my
got,
mind, I was thinking just have one big massive datasets file, and
then
like,
that can have naming collisions as well, though, if the data provider has the same name.
yes, wouldn't based on the functional nature of pesto, wouldn't you have that anyway? If a data provider is the same name, we're going to put that name in there regardless.
But
So
what
you're going
happens
to
when you?
have collisions.
Oh, true, true,
They
true.
don't, there's no linkage between this and that.
Yeah, no, you're right, 100%.
That's why
Didn't think of
that's
that.
why I was dumping them all in one key, because it let us know that
Yeah.
they're not, there are potential non-unique names.
So it's almost like we need to make the actual name inside that data set, like that first argument to data set needs to be prefixed with something, but that's going to look a little gross.
I think let's just be naive for now. We can get some information from the audience or Twitter or Nuno later. Um, So really the question is, do we just make one big shared, like datasets shared file, or do you still want to try to do matchups to kind of individual test names? Because
I mean,
either
the other alternative is that we put them inline as well, but
you could put them inline. I don't like the inline personally because anytime I've ever used data providers, it's been for large sets of data. So like it's a massive array, and I just feel like that makes your test like so fucking ugly.
I kind of like having the data provider like there so you can see it with the test, like it's kind of connects it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a downside if you're using the same data provider for multiple tests, like the inline one wouldn't be as nice there because you'd have to duplicate it for each test that uses it.
Yeah.
This is the thing with this whole thing. Like it's very opinionated as to how like which approach you use. And obviously as an automation tool, we have to
Yeah,
just choose one
we
really.
have to pick a side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this was the seller for me. I mean, right here. If you want to keep your test files clean.
That's files clean. Yeah. Yeah.
And coming
I'm
from
wondering
PHP
whether,
unit, you never had them to, it's not like you wrote a for each loop in your test case. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like they were already separated. So in
So
my
if
mind, having
we,
them as a separate file like aligns
yeah.
pretty well with that convention.
So if we just had one big data set called shared,
Mm-hmm.
and if we just prefixed like the data set name with like the full path to the test or something so that it's always unique. It's just hear me out. It's going to look
Yeah, yeah.
gross, but it makes it very easy for the developer to go through them and do a string replace because it'll be a guaranteed unique string. So they can say, okay, I'm going to give this a
Yeah.
meaningful name now. I'm going to call this, you know, customer emails or something. And it's going to be unique. And I don't know.
Yeah. The problem is that the wiring, and this is kind of why I don't like having shared stuff between tasks. We wouldn't know that until we went and made data providers. And then you would have to go back to that other file and change its width. Because in that test method where we tacked on the width, where I was kind of
Mm.
making that test failure, like um, complex test methods after, or well, no, it's not after, it's the pest. When I did this, if you're
Mm-hmm.
saying now this is supposed to say like complex test methods, and we found that out in data providers task,
Mm-hmm.
we got to now go back and do that, fix that here
But
in the new pest
you could
test.
put that there in the first place though, because with
Yeah,
that
but we don't
information
know.
is
We don't know
known
it's not
to plenty
unique
of
though.
time.
Then it's ugly. It's an ugly prefix for no reason.
Oh, so you'd say we'd only prefix it if we
Only
knew that it
prefix it if
was
we found it,
non-unique.
yeah, a
Yeah, okay.
non-unique. And then we could, so
Okay, I think
again,
what if
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah,
we
go
probably
ahead.
are. If we gave them all a unique ugly name, it's very easy later on to then say, like, what are the duplicates? And then go
Yeah,
replace the long, like the long unique name with the shorter name. Whereas you
yeah.
can't kind of do it the other way around.
I hear everything that you're saying, and I do think it's a bridge we will have to cross.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's just like MVP, MVP, MVP,
Yeah.
MVP. So like the simplest thing right
Let's,
now would just be to throw all these in a shared data,
yeah.
datasets slash shared.php, throw them all in there. If
Yep.
we detect a non-unique method name as we're throwing them in this file,
Mm-hmm.
we can leave a comment for now for the
For
MVP
now.
with a tracer bullet, event. And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing a bunch of those in the logs next week, then we revisit and we add a
Okay.
cool unique name. Plus we get some user feedback of like, oh, it'd be nice if it prefixed it with the old test, you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Or it'd be nice if it, then we kind of see what people would want and expect, and then we can make like the proper change, right? It's all about that MVP process of like getting it out there, getting in their
Yeah.
hands, getting their feedback. So we may totally end up doing exactly what you're saying, but to kind of noodle all that now, we're going to not only burn the whole video, but like not make
Yeah.
progress and then maybe even make the
Fair.
wrong choice. So I just, in my mind, I'm like, let's just freaking put it in shared. And
Yeah. 100%
this is
agree.
normally Jess and
Get
I's
something on the
dynamic.
page.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll get something on the page and we can change it later.
So yeah, you may very well end up being correct. Plus I want to give you a chance to write some Vim. We're burning
Yeah, true,
precious
true, true.
time. All right. Okay, so put file contents would be data sets, and this would just be very generic ugly, like shared.
Bad, yeah.
And what we would expect here is pest, and we would let's just call this data providers. I know that's not the pest name, but just for uniformity with what we would expect with this test. Okay, and then it's going to get complex. Yeah, so this is the kind of weird part. It'll get complex test cases, or sorry, complex test methods would be the file it gets. But when it puts file contents, I think it's going to put the same data provider stuff, and it's no longer going to append. So this put file contents is actually at the end. So let me explain this a bit more since we jumped around. Okay, so we're going to determine the files by pulling our shared data that we shared from the test method tasks. We're going to get all the files related to that. We're going to open those up, and we're going to extract that data provider out of the original PHPUnit test. And we will ultimately put it in a datasets shared file. All of them are going to go in there wrapped, with the cool new datasets function. And
Yeah.
as we've talked about before, about continuing to remove methods out of those original PHPUnit tests, at this point in the game, there should really be nothing in those files anymore.
Yeah.
So hopefully, in which case
Hopefully,
the
yeah.
next task looks for helpers, doesn't see any additional private methods or anything crazy, and then the file just gets removed, and now everything is passed.
Cool. Do you see
Okay.
any risks with only appending to that file? Sorry, only creating that file at the very end? So like holding every single data provider in memory, like the whole method body and everything?
I think like I've noticed file IO limits on the workers being like 3 or 4 meg. So you're talking about like a three, you're talking about like a 30K line file, like a
Yeah.
30,000 line file before it would start to be a little goofy.
Okay.
So yeah, worst case scenario, we do like append. Like that's fine. We could.
Less memory, but more disk IO.
Yeah. So it's all kind of a trade-off, right? So
Yeah.
so I would say I just don't see that problem very often. If we were working on like seeders or something in Laravel where you might have like crazy seed data, the risk for, I've noticed in Laravel 8, for example, like when the seeders got moved and they namespaced, parsing those files will sometimes fail for that reason. It's just too
Okay.
much. Somebody has like a all United States zip codes, you know,
Yep. In
in
a
a
seeder.
seeder, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh. So,
Yep.
but yeah, anyway, let's try this. All right, so I'm going to run this and at least get it to where it's running with a legit failure. We'll kick it to you, and we'll spend whatever it takes to get that done. So let me bring up Docker, unfortunately, which is probably going to ask me to upgrade, I noticed yesterday.
Should
We'll
always keep your software
snooze
up to
it.
date.
We'll snooze it. Yeah, I know.
Don't
The
encourage
guy who
people to
made
snooze the
shifts got
updates.
old software. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so does everyone. That's the point. All right, or maybe it's already running. Was it already running? Where's Docker? Come on, Docker. Show me the magic. I do know there will be one thing probably wrong with this test. That datasets folder is unlikely to exist, and it's capital datasets. So first things first, it'll be tests datasets. That's going to be the right location to it. And
make the directory.
Yeah, we're probably going to need to like test to see if it's there. And again, I'll have to double check this. It's not in the docs, but I'm assuming that if that folder exists, like Pest auto scans and loads those for you. Like we're not going to have to put like uses statements or require or anything. Like I'm assuming. So we'll see what Nuno says. So I think there's like a make. Is there a make directory? I think there's a make directory. Let's just do that. There we go. All right, so we'll have to make that directory. Okay, I can't tell if Docker's running or not because all my Zoom crap is in the way. We're gonna find out here in just a second. You can do it, yay, it's alive. All right, vendor bin PHPUnit. All right, shared data providers should be called. Okay, well that's actually a legit failure. You're gonna be missing some of the fixtures,
That's okay.
like these data sets fixtures, but like we can copy the correct file there for you. Let me just clean up. Okay, so when you call basic test methods, we're just going to give you that generic data provider because they're both the same name. It'll be a good test. Put file contents will just be the result of the data provider. And then complex, same thing. We're going to give you back the same data provider. And then it should put back kind of what it expects from that as well. And they could just use the same before and after because it's kind of irrelevant. So yeah, you will have to make these fixtures as you go, but we do have a legit failure here where it's not even calling shared data. So let's just add dot here in the interest of time, git commit -m.
Does that make directory exist?
It does?
I can't see it.
I might have called it something weird like mkdir.
I searched for that too. Couldn't find it.
Okay. Well, maybe I just called makedir on it, like regardless. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'll look it up. I could have sworn there was a make directory. Anyway, you can keep going and I'll look it up. Git push origin head. I'm stopping my screen share. You're on.
Alrighty. Share screen.
And I'll quickly look for.
I've lost you. Where did you go? You're over there. There we go.
Oh. I'm going to quickly look for data providers. Uh-oh. I don't think we'll be able to see your screen while I'm doing this. So utility helper. I could have sworn there was like a make directory.
Why wouldn't you be able to see my screen?
Because I think it's recording my screen. Zoom's recording.
I think it's recording.
Well, Zoom records itself.
Yeah, Zoom records the meeting, so I think it's fine.
Well, we'll find out when
We'll
this
find
plays
out.
back because I just switched my screen. I'm back on yours now, so we'll just,
Okay,
I
cool.
don't see make dir either, so no
Yeah,
problem.
okay.
I can always get my MacBook
Alrighty.
Pro and find it.
So test methods, test.
Oh, speaking of which, in the
Migrates.
pest converter, we should probably uncomment the data provider task in our get tasks.
So that would kind of be like, well, we've tracked the data providers, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would go ahead and drop it here. Yeah.
All right. So copy this one, data providers. Get rid of that. That should be good.
Cool.
Alrighty. So if we run this one, it wasn't test methods test, it was the data providers.
I know, I was doing that 100 times.
Okay. So I run that one. And that one doesn't call shared data. Okay, so I'm gonna make that test pass first. So I need to go to the implementation, data provider, providers. All right. Let's have a look at it. It's expecting shared data, which makes sense. So we'll call this data providers equals shift. I need to import that. Shared data, data providers. And then make that test. Well, that should actually just make that test pass.
Yeah, it should.
Nice. All right, cool.
Sweet.
Next test. It migrates data providers, data providers
Data
to
providers.
data sets, to shared data sets.
Nice. Yeah, that's fair.
So, cool. So it expects shared data.
Oh,
Those things.
oh, I copied from. I was like, how did I get that wrong? I copied from the
I
the
spotted it when
share
you did
side.
it.
Why didn't you say something then? Jeez.
Because you were talking a lot and I couldn't get a word in.
I'm talking for you and I'm talking for the audience. That's what a good pair does when they're
I know,
when they're
it was fine
captaining.
because I made a note of it, so we're all good.
Excuse me.
All right. So after we've got our data providers, we're basically going to pull in. Now this is interesting. So we're going to pull in basic test messages. We're going to loop through these and get the file names. So if we start off with just a standard loop for each data providers as this is like the test case file, I guess, test file.
Yeah. I would just call
well,
it
no, actually it's
test and
test
method.
file because that's the key name. So it's like
It's
test file and then it's like
methods. Yeah.
Yeah. You reckon it's file? It's file and then methods?
Yeah, file or test. Yeah, that's fine. I think that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
File and methods.
So shift get file content.
Actually, it's get file because we're going to be chunking out parts of it, and so working with that file object makes life a lot easier.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever used that working here yet, so that's cool.
It basically is a value object for lines in a file.
Okay.
It makes it a little easier to like scan and get to where we want.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is the file path so that I can say this is the file.
Yeah, just path.
Path, yeah, cool.
I like one-word variable names if possible.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we're gonna pull that in, which is good, and then it basically thinks we're gonna put it back out again without those files in place. So this is where we kind of,
do stuff.
Remove the data providers. And then shift put. So in this case, we're still doing a put file contents. Okay.
And it would be file. Path is good. But file arrow contents is how you get the contents of the file object.
Ah, nice. So like we could probably do like, we don't want to pull the contents, do we?
I was saying for the put file contents, your second argument would be that. It's a method.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Because it's a value object, so you can't.
Yeah, cool.
Can't get none of the stuff out of there.
ID. It's going to loop through the other stuff. So let's implement one of these. So this is basically going to be a test that has data providers but no methods, right?
I would just go copy from that basic or like complex test methods or something real quick.
Complex test methods. And it'll be the after, right?
Um,
Because like the
well, I would copy the first one. Let's make it a legit data provider of name and then make
okay.
kind of an empty after version.
So this one's got the data provider here.
But yeah, we just never define it. So you'll just make like a public
Data provider. And then we can just return
our names or something.
Ooh,
Jess
I'll
Archer,
do like a
Jason McCreary.
I'll do like Jess to Jess, like it's like testing an uppercase method or something.
Cool. Can I be JMac?
Yeah, you can be JMac.
Thanks.
Capital and lowercase JMac.
Pass it in Jason. You get JMac, capital JMac back.
That'd be pretty cool.
And yeah, I would get rid of the rest of the noise. It's
yeah. All right. Now, will this file normally still have like all of this stuff here, or has that been removed at this point?
Well, for the purpose of this test, we could just call it like data providers test. But no, that stuff's not getting removed right now.
Okay, so like if we went to like the complex test methods after,
all it removes are the methods that it affected.
Methods. Yeah, cool. Okay. Nice.
So since we're sharing this, I would call it like class data providers test or something. Because it's going to be shared for both. You're just going to get the same file back.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
And now that I'm looking at this, I feel like we should make one more in here. We could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe give it like a doc block. Just so we can prove that we're pulling the doc block over. What's up?
Yeah. Should we give them better names then?
The other one you can. I think it's good to have
one called data provider. All right.
Yeah. And then we could adjust the registry key to just have this extra one for that, and we could see that it didn't pull out stuff, right?
So this data provider is going to be called movies.
Cool. We could be Marvel movies since we're talking about.
That's what I was going to do. Yeah, I was going to do that.
Okay. Well, it just said movies, so I was thinking like
true.
Terminator.
Well, when I was going to put like a couple of example movie names in, but like what would this test? Because you normally like in a data provider, right? You've got like the data that goes in and then the expectation. So like,
is it a Marvel movie or not? So yeah, put Avengers and then put Terminator, true and false.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so Avengers, true, and then Terminator is false. That's cool.
Nailed it.
So Marvel movies.
We could get real geeky and we could be like Marvel movies, from Disney or like sanctioned Marvel movies, and we could say Deadpool false and like Avengers true. But anyway, we're geeking out now.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this is good. It's going to affect the way we wrote the test, but there's one more thing I want to do just up there on your relative line 7 there. I just want to add for this Marvel movies a PHP doc block
data provider,
to demonstrate that the doc block will also be brought over with the dataset wrapper.
So like just a normal one, like movies that may may not be Marvel.
Made by Marvel or something. Yeah, sweet. Perfect.
May not be made by. There you go. So if we take all of that and go back to, sorry. So our after file we're expecting is basically going to be empty, right? It'll probably have like an extra line.
It'll have that one line break, between the methods. Theoretically.
Theoretically, yeah.
Now we need to go up and update before we continue, let's not forget to change our shared data real quick because we
Yeah.
definitely made some changes.
So this one will have
It'll have Marvel movies.
Marvel movies. Nice.
Awesome.
And
And so it's after. The after you have is good, but we'll have to keep in mind that even though we're using the same data provider input, it's going to have a different after because the complex data providers does not have a Marvel movies, which is good. I think it's good. It's going to demonstrate that that got left alone.
yeah. So
So,
what makes this complex?
well, I guess if it were me, I would have put Marvel movies in the complex one.
Should I do it?
I don't care.
Okay.
But we do need to change that to complex test
Which
methods,
one's
I
there?
guess, because that's what we're pulling on get file
Oh,
down there.
true. Yeah.
I think I did like an extended search and replace for test methods when I was.
Complex test methods. Nice.
Yeah, I moved the Marvel movies.
Move the Marvel movies? Okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling the
That one
moving
will
of
go
that
in
one.
there. Give it its little trailing. I like trailing comments
Cool.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So if we go into this file, so the good thing is I'm going to copy this one before I remove its stuff and put it in. So we're going to
The
have to do a
original
separate one
file
for this,
is
right?
fine. It's the after
Yeah.
file, which will be data provider after, basic or something.
Won't the after be the same in both cases because it's removed all of the data providers, but the input one will have Marvel and one won't?
Nope. It's the other way around.
Nope. Okay.
Because you're only moving data provider from it. That was the only method registered to remove in basic. But in complex test methods, you're removing both data providers. Yeah, so it's the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just need one now
It all
that
makes
is
sense now.
it's a copy
Yeah.
of what you just did, but just remove the Marvel one.
Yes. So this will be like complex data provider, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. All right. So that one, I need to basically have the same as this one, but it needs to have.
Yeah, I would just call it
I'm
basic
doing my
data
head in.
provider after then if you
Yeah,
that way we're
okay.
just sticking with it. So they can have the same input fixture, but their result will have different outputs.
Yeah, it's finally
No
sinking
problem.
in.
Yeah, when I share them like that, it gets a little crafty, a little too crafty.
So we've got those ones on our input file. So our basic data provider, let me go copy this one again. I have to delete the other one I created. So the basic one only has this one removed.
Yeah, I think that looks good. Should look good.
The complex
I have about 15 more minutes and then I'm going to have to call it. So no pressure, just saying.
Type faster, Jess. All right.
I thought you already made that file, but whatever.
I did, but yeah. Alrighty, that's good. Now this make directory doesn't exist, so like, are we gonna or like command or something?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
make
that's fine.
Like that.
Yeah.
Cool. We don't need to make dir p, do we? Because the test.
I mean, test should be there. Yeah. Yeah. We should be fine. Yeah, we'll just throw a rough command at it. Who cares?
Yeah, cool. Alrighty, I'm gonna see where I'm failing now after all that. All right.
I would just touch that file for now.
Yeah.
Just copy it right out of the get file contents.
That was this one here. Yeah. Right, that one's created. Run this again. Okay, so
data provider
found for shared data providers. That. Oh, because this is also. I wonder if anyone else caught that one.
Oh wow!
Should be
good call. Yeah, and return.
And return.
Nice. Copy paste still biting me.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. So now we're putting the file back.
We're not removing anything.
Got the methods in there that's not being removed yet. So now we can actually write like the the tricky
beef.
part.
So I would take a look at test methods, because otherwise it's going to be a lot of me telling you the typing.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so test methods is this one.
Yeah. So you're going to need that method parser.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
up
okay.
on line 5.
Yeah. Oh, all right, so we can do that outside of the loop.
Yeah.
And
You
then...
don't run these tests at the same time, but I would do an if statement here, just if data providers is somehow empty, return.
Yeah, good call. Well, that first test will potentially show that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
What does this return if it's not there? Does it return null or?
Just an empty array, just empty, just do an empty check,
Just
just
empty.
like on the other
Okay,
file.
cool. Cool. All right, so we've got our method parser. We're going to have to get all of the methods out of the file.
Yeah, you can probably copy almost all those lines inside that for each.
Yeah, true.
I mean, we can, once you copy them, we can slow down and review them together if you want. But it's really does, all of these have started to become like the same, filter the methods you want, loop over them, rewrap them, remove them. Like it's very straightforward stuff. And then instead of the share, you're going to have a make dir stuff at the bottom there.
Yeah. So I'll copy that then. All right. So we're declaring. Why do we do this?
This is where we wrap the methods.
Why do we initialize contents as an empty string and then initialize it as a collection?
Because it's used inside of a reduce method. It's the carry down a couple lines. So we start out with an empty string and then we reduce it in a collection pipeline to wrap methods to build up what we append in Pest.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And then once we're done appending the things we need, then we go back and remove the stuff from the original, but we do it in a reverse order so we can trust that we can remove blocks 1 through whatever without affecting removal of additional blocks. It's just a little trick I learned a while back with. Because if you remove 1 through 5 in a file object that then reorders the lines and then you remove 6 through 10, you're going to be really removing 11 through 15 and not from the original file, right?
Yep.
But by going backwards, I can say 11 through 15, 1 through 5, and I'm getting the right spots.
Yeah. Remove that comment for now. All right. So this, we've now got all of the methods. We're going through each method. Now this
so this will basically remove the segment that matched in the PHPUnit file. So this would remove, in our case, like data provider or Marvel movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if it has a doc block, it also has some lines, which it will remove as well.
So...
And then at the very end of this, you will put that back out like you already have. You will append the pest file, and we will also, outside of the loop, make a directory for the shared data sets. Or sorry, you won't append the file. That's the contents of what we're building up will go into that outside
of the loop.
We'll make dir, we'll run the command to make the dir, and we'll and then we'll make a data sets shared with contents. Now, I guess because we are carrying contents so much, we will need to store that outside the loop, I guess. For data, that's fine. But really, contents is data sets, I guess, is my point.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm glad to change the name and then pull the initialization of it outside the loop.
Data sets is empty.
Yeah.
And then
inside, here's where we would carry it.
Yeah. So we can set this to data sets as well, right? Like this will.
Yes, but you'll have to keep carrying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you got to change it to data sets in there too.
Data sets datasets. Oh,
I think the rest of this will just work. The part we would have to do now is the wrap method stuff
so
and the
which part of this
filtering.
though is telling it to specifically pull the ones from
The filter methods would happen up here.
Filter methods? Nice. Okay, cool.
So yeah, so we got to build some of the methods that we're missing.
Yeah.
So let's do at least one of these, and then the wrap method. I think we all know what the datasets looks like. So let's at least do the filter, and then maybe we'll just stop there, and I could do a short live stream later to fill in some of these blanks.
So filter method. Now, what does it get?
It's going to get the abstract syntax tree of that file.
Okay.
Of the PHPUnit file with the methods parsed out.
Methods one. Filter methods. Oh, so it gets an array of them.
Yeah. Okay. So in the case of ours, we would want to say we would really just want to honestly, we would really just want to build a collection of anything that matched our array keys by name. I don't even know if we need this filter methods necessarily, but
yeah, because we're going to get if the method name matches
basically
one of our data
in
providers.
Methods.
Yeah, true.
And that's so you can either pass a different thing, or we can kind of just do this in line in the original collection.
I'll start it off in line.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right. So this is where we will say array filter. And always forget the order. The arrays first. Cool. And then function.
If you want, I mean, if we're already doing collection pipelines, I mean, if you're more comfortable, you can collect the parse and then do what you want.
Awesome. All right. So we collect the methods. Nice. All right, get rid of that. Filter function method. Might even make this into a short one in a second. So method, it was method name, wasn't it?
Yeah, method name will be.
So we can say
in
name. Array method name. Now this is where it's a little.
Yeah, we called it methods.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but then we call these methods when we save it out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So I would go ahead and change your loop variable maybe to be data providers.
That's what the loop is here, though.
Oh.
The outer one.
Well, you named everything all screwed up. Come on, man.
So these are the data providers that we've found. Like we already know.
It's kind of like the registry in fairness. But yeah, I mean, we could overwrite the variable. I don't necessarily care. Like we don't need it
like
anymore.
These are the method names.
Yeah, which
whereas
will now
these are the actual like abstract syntax tree.
The actual like method representations. Yeah, I think if it were me, I probably would have called it like, instead of calling it data providers at the very top, I either would have just called it straight up data or like registry or something. And then I loop over the registry or entries or something as path and data providers.
What do you think about method names? I like that.
Yeah, it's fine.
But then like that's.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't need it anymore. So like it's.
Yeah. Now I can
that's the only place it's used.
But instead, I will do that.
Do you have to add a use on the short thing?
No, that's the beauty. Well, one.
Oh, is that okay? I haven't used them that often, so that's what I was asking. Cool.
Any chance I get.
Yeah, I remember you did that on like the shift code base a while back before we were on like 8, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I think the test suite failed though, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so that's okay. Empty. We continue.
Let's run the test.
Yeah, because that's getting close.
Let's run the test, and we can at least stub out like wrap methods to do nothing right now.
Yeah.
And we'll stop
wrap
there.
method.
Yeah, so wrap method is going to be non-existent.
So we still want to define that though, right?
Yeah, let's just define it so the test plays on and we get back to a place where it's failing because the fixtures don't match. And I think
Yeah.
we'll have to cut the stream there since we started a little late because I gotta go help with Izzy and breakfast and so forth.
So this one gets the method and the file. And what does it return back? Like just returns back the method?
It basically returns back a string.
Until now,
I
we
would
just
just
want to
return
return
an
an
empty string for now, so we know
Yeah.
it's pretty obviously broken.
Oh, run that again.
No matching handler found for
Yeah, cool. So it's trying to put
put
the
file contents data sets.
Oh, hang on, I've got make there in there. What have I got? I've obviously wonder if someone else caught that one. So if I go back here.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Little cut paste there on accident.
Yeah.
That should actually be the path, I think, is the issue.
Oh, the first part was the path?
Yeah, see, I think you have data sets shared. You still just have test data sets
Test data
in your
set.
implementation.
Over here. Yeah. Oh, so
That'll
they
be
should be the other way around?
/shared.php. You're putting file contents now.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That should at least make it
That's
happy.
better.
Now, of course, it's still going to complain because it's an empty file,
Yeah.
but that's what we want.
That's better.
Yeah, perfect. It's just got a bunch of blank lines where it did loop over. I bet you if we counted those lines, though, it looped over 4 or 5 data providers, and that's good.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's doing something. It's just not wrapping the methods. I will complete that either as a live stream later today or just in the background. I think we all know what those data sets are going to look like. Just like before, we're going to pull out the body, wrap it in data sets, give it the name of the method, and
Yep.
So
sweet.
I'll probably go so far with the method names as to drop off data provider. So the ultimate data set will be called Marvel Movies, but I'll probably go back and update those fixtures to be like Marvel Movies data provider, because that was kind of just like a PHPUnit convention to suffix those, right?
Oh, true. Yeah, some people that do that. Yeah.
So
like,
we'll demonstrate that with complex to clean it up, right?
So just to like show what this should look like though, like this is the shared data provider.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and finish this and we'll end there.
So this will end up being like data set data provider. And then what is the docs?
The inner portion. It's just the array.
Portion is just the array that it returns.
Yeah.
Very nice. Get rid of that. And then we can join that one up, close that one off, shift you all back. So that's what that should look like, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. And then we're going to keep the doc block. Is that the kind of the plan for that?
Yes, this one we will keep the doc block. Otherwise, it's exactly what you just did.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
Sweet.
Probably a trailing line break at the very end of the file, but yeah. Sweet. Yeah, so this will work well. And this is actually a really good test because one of them is just straight up called data provider. And obviously we wouldn't want to remove that whole name if all it was data provider, right? So this will actually be really, even though we didn't really plan on it, it'll actually be a really good test of all the complex ways you could have some data providers.
Yeah.
The only slightly annoying thing is if somehow your data provider had logic within it. Shift is
before you return the array.
Yeah, shift would just, dump that in there. So you're gonna end up with a syntax error for the MVP in those scenarios.
Yeah, that's hard to avoid, right? Like unless
I'm sure the data providers allow you, a lazy data set maybe.
It's like potentially you might be able to put
it's
some
not
logic in front of there.
I bet you if we looked it up, data sets can reuse. Data sets can basically probably have a function passed in as well. I bet you if I looked at like internal, I'll ask Nuno.
Because this is using like the lazy yield stuff, which I have
Yeah.
not played with.
I'll ask Nuno if you can like have a function, have a closure instead of just straight array for data sets.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, commit this up as a continued whip, and I will try to live stream this afternoon for the audience that is watching this stuff right away on the edge of their seats, watching all of our parts here. So I'll clean that up, or I'll do it offline so we're ready for tomorrow to work on the helpers and maybe actually try to run this.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Cool. All right. See ya.
See ya.